Hey, Successors, before we get into the show today, I'd like to tell you about my new book, Indulge Your Affirmative Motivation Within, 25 Motivations of Personal Development and Life Success. If you're struggling to stay motivated or just need a little boost, check out the ways that I've stayed motivated over the last few years. Go ahead and go over to Amazon.com and grab yourself a copy. That's Indulge Your Affirmative Motivation Within, 25 Motivations of Personal Development and Life Success. Get it now. On with the show.
Success. Media. Network.
This is your show.
Good day, Successors. I'm Antonio Holman, and welcome to the 4 Principles of Success number 41, where I chat with successful people and entrepreneurs about how they enhance their businesses and lives in the areas of knowledge, health, wealth, and spirituality. Today, we're talking to Terry Ogburn. Terry is located in Tampa Bay, Florida, and is the renowned owner and lead business coach of Ogburn's Business Solutions. His proprietary coaching system and personal devotion to the development of others has contributed to the success of hundreds of small to large business ventures. After starting a successful air conditioning service business with only $118.42, Terry was able to parlay that into years of success, million-dollar earnings, and the corporate turnarounds of Radio Shack, MetroCall Paging, AT&T Wireless, and Century 21 Real Estate. Today, Terry has returned to his true passion of helping entrepreneurs and small business owners plan, launch, and develop their companies. Terry, are you ready to help our listeners prepare for success?
I am, and thank you so much, Antonio, for having me on your shows. We're going to have a lot of fun today.
Oh, yeah. All right, Terry. So, aside from your very busy business world, how about you tell us a little bit about your personal life?
Okay, good. First of all, I'm 66 years old, living in the west coast of Florida, 10 minutes actually from my condo, front door to toes in the water. I love the beach. I love anything to do with being around the water, whether it's playing golf or you want to go fishing or you want to go on boat rides, whatever it is. My passion is golf. I love golf. I could play probably 3 or 4 times a week if I could. So tennis is my other game to keep in shape. So that's pretty much what I'm up to, Antonio.
How's your golf game?
I shoot around an 18 handicap, but on any hole I could be a 2 or a 4. So it just depends on which person shows up. I've had some if I can tell a quick story about golf. I actually got to play in the Trans Lenses pro amateur tournament in 2009. I was paired with, as an amateur, I was paired with Kyle Underclair, and we got to play. I got to experience what the big guys do for one day. So it was pretty cool. Yeah,
I have yet to step foot into the old golf game. I keep telling myself I'm going to do it, but I haven't done it yet. Oh,
it's a great way to discipline yourself because at the end of the day, you look in the mirror and it's your fault. Whatever it is, you have to take responsibility for the game you played. You can't blame it on others. So it's a very one-on-one mental game. And there's a great book that most golfers carry, which translates into the business world, and it's called Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. And it has to deal with your subconscious, and especially entrepreneurs. We work with our subconsciouses a lot more than some of the other folks in the trades.
Now, for those who may not know, tell us a little bit more about what Ogburn Business Solutions does to help business owners.
Well, the first thing that I do, Antonio, is I differentiate myself by making sure that I focus on the bottom line of the companies. I'm a coach, I'm a consultant, I deal with, and sometimes I can even be a therapist, and anybody of us in business, we know what that means. But my title is business development, and that's unique because I make sure that I earn my way onto the payroll, so to speak. I can roll up my shirt sleeves to be involved with the client. And most of my clients stay with me 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I got one fixing to have a birthday in March of next year for 7 years. I also have a birthday coming up in September with a client for 6 years. So when you contribute to the bottom line, you make people money, they kind of want you to hang around.
Before we go any further, I wanted to ask you, what was your very first entrepreneurial experience and how old were you?
Good question. I guess I would have been about 10 or 11. I wanted a bicycle. And my dad was military, and so we didn't have a whole lot of money. And so he said, well, let's come up with a business plan for this. And I think it was more like going to be like a deterrent, you know. And so, but we sat down. I said, okay, great, let's put this together. So I went and found a group of kids and had a paper route. So I figured all this out. So we sat down and we figured out how many nickels I was going to get, because back then it was 25 cents for a weekly delivery of the paper. And I got a nickel out of every one of those. So how many nickels did I need? We mapped it all out. We seen how long it would take me to pay off my bike, and we put a game plan together. That was at, like I said, 10 or 11. And then my next one was lawnmower business. We did the same exact thing. That was about when I was 13 or 14. So always been enterprising ever since I was a little man.
Now, in your business world today, what compels you so much to help entrepreneurs and small business owners?
It gives me joy. We're all here to find a purpose. And when you find your purpose, you should be able to do that, whatever that is, and not even realize that time has gone by. And when I'm working with a client, it's working with them, and when you get to see that light bulb come on and they start to get their sea legs about them, get going with their projects and their protocols and things, it makes you feel good, warm inside.
Now, one of the biggest challenges these days for business owners, there's a lot of venture capitalists, taking part in a lot of new startups and things like that. What are your 3 top tips that people looking for business funding can actually start to implement today?
First thing I would do is I would make sure that I got somebody who was very versed on writing business plans. I've seen too many times where people go in and find somebody that's willing to put together a sales and marketing plan, which is most common. The problem with that is that most investors, when they look at it, they see tons of these. That's where they come from. What you want to do is find somebody who understands how to build a business plan from the top down. My expertise comes from the fact that I built a business plan based on a company going public, and so we had to prove to the Federal Trade Commission that we were actually a business before we could even start to sell the franchises. When you model your business after a franchise, you don't have to franchise it, but the idea is modeling a franchise means that you build from the top down. And when you build from the top down, you have a better than a 90% success ratio. Franchising, and when you write a franchising of what I call a comprehensive business plan, it should be able to have less than a 2% failure rate. Because in franchising, if you have more than a 2% failure rate, you're not going to be a top franchisor.
Aside from writing business plans, what do you feel is one of the most underprepared areas of small business that you've seen throughout the years, and how can people better correct these issues?
It's something called a performa. It's not used much in today's society, largely because of the software, QuickBooks, and different things like that. Business investors are looking for projection. Performa is a projection of income versus expenses, and they want to see that there's a break-even point. You won't break even. Typically it's going to be 18 months to 2 years before you break even. All of these things need to be forecasted into a new startup or a new adventure. If you're taking over a business, then you want to make sure that you understand the past so you can predict the future, so that you can get the capital needed to sustain your missions and your priorities.
What key ways can business owners begin to improve their time management and organizational skills, and how effective communication plays a role in this?
Communication is everything, and that's the problem we're having in our society today is actually the lack of communication. Most business owners want to micromanage or be on top of everything, and you have to learn to let go and empower. So a new movement in business today is empowering your team to work and to make mistakes, and it's okay because you can create systems and processes that make that better for them. The other thing is, we have to get away from time management. Time management is a myth, but what isn't a myth is being able to manage your 168 hours that you have in the course of a week. I have a whole program, or a whole module program, and if anybody would like to take it, I'd be glad to share it with them. But it's teaching you how to manage your time. And when you become a manager of your 168 hours, then you don't worry about what other people are up to, because you constantly are working on your mission and your goals and things like that.
Now, you just said some powerful words there. Time management is a myth. That is powerful, because there are a lot of people out there who, to them, that's everything. So, I mean, when you say it's a myth, what are less stringent, I guess, time management activities would you typically focus on?
First of all, I'd employ something in my world called In Your Day. This means that we stop at the end of the day. It doesn't have to be the same time every day, although I am a believer in that. But you take time to close your day out. So here's two things I'll give the listeners. First of all, if there's a lot of time at the end of you don't have enough time to do everything, then you might have a problem with your time management. So let's look at it this way. So you want a better result? You put 2 action steps in place. Your 2 action steps would be evaluate your day. So at the end of this day, when you draw a line in the sand and say, okay, my day's over, then you got to look back at your day and you got to ask yourself 3 questions. What did I do right? What did I do wrong? What could I have done better? Okay, so when you figure this out and put this logic to paper, then the second step is to prioritize your next day. So you make a list, your to-do list out, and here's the secret sauce, so to speak, this secret ingredient, is take the time to look at each one of these tasks and then put a time limit that you think it's going to take to do these tasks. And then when you total it up, if you've got more than 8 hours worth of work on your plate, then you have to do something about that. Now, you can choose to move it to another day so you don't become overwhelmed with the day tomorrow, or you can delegate those tasks out or find a way to delegate them out. Because if you come up at the end of the day, you have 12 hours worth of work and you only have an 8-hour day, then obviously you're going to be overwhelmed and you're going to be frantic at the end of the day. The other thing is by analyzing your day and prioritizing the next day, you give your subconscious a chance to start to put pieces in place that will help you through the next day. So then you get up the next morning and you go over it. Now, there are going to be 4 things, Antonio, that you need to make this happen. First, you have to decide that you're going to manage your 168 hours. And that means every part of it. That means your sleep time, your get up, your meditation, your exercise, your date with your wife, children, all of this has to take part in it. Then you must then put disciplines in your life to make sure that it's your job to stay on course. Even like an airplane is never on course 100% of the time towards its destination. It's constantly course correcting. So we have to put disciplines in our life to make sure that we keep on target for our priorities. Then we have to be decisive. So we have to make decisions about what we're going to do, what's going to be the best use of our time, what is the most high leverage activities that we do, what can we put off, what can we delegate. And I would give anybody working with me permission to procrastinate on anything that doesn't pertain to that moves them towards their goals. And then the 4th thing is we must learn to visualize. We think in pictures. And so if the more that we visualize us becoming a a person who manages their time, the more that we visualize these disciplines taking in place, more time that we spend making sure we're making the right decisions at the right time, we visualize that all coming true. And the more times that we visualize it, the more apt that we're going to stay on schedule.
Now, mentioned in your bio, this is interesting. Take us to that moment when you realized that you had that $118.42 and you decided to create a company with that money. Take us to that moment.
Okay, good. I'd been fired out of the car business. I was very successful in the sales industry and car thing. I was either number one or number two. And I got fired because I had went and looked for a job. I wanted to grow, wanted to be a management and type thing. And I wasn't getting anywhere there. So I went and applied, and then my boss found out about it, and of course I got terminated. But it left me with no car, no vehicle whatsoever, because they give you demos. So I paid up my rent, I paid up all my bills for 1 month, and I said, okay, the place I was living in was an apartment complex going condo. There's 264 condos in the complex. And so there was a broken furnace duct, so I could fix that duct for $15. Prior life, I was in air conditioning. And so I would point that out to you, Antonio, when you come and bought your condo. I said, well, let me show you something here. I can fix that broken furnace duct for $15. Well, 264 condos times 15 is about $4,000. And in 1979, that was a lot of money. So I figured that would get me a jump start. And then, of course, I started hearing from everybody because I was known in the complex. Oh, that'll never work. You're going to fail. You won't be in business 6 months, so forth and so on. And what happened then was Jeff Foxworthy's father bought a condo there, Jim Foxworthy, who was the president of IBM, and he became my first mentor. And so that's how it all launched, right there, and seeing an opportunity right there and laying at the pool, so to speak.
Wow, it's kind of funny when people tell you all the time that you're going to fail, but eventually, just I guess at a matter of just sheer grit, that people become successes. I love those stories like that.
When I was little, I thought my middle name was No, because everything that I ever tried to do was Terry No, Terry. And my father will tell you that to this day. So, and we were taught as kids, the word can't doesn't exist. My mom would even cut it out of the dictionary and then go look it up, and it wouldn't be there. And so we were just taught. My mom was this. She was just this great lady that believed that you could do anything if you put your mind to it. And of course, she was right about that. So when somebody tells me I can't do something, it's almost like you're giving me fuel to wait a minute. That's giving me fuel to work. So I enjoy when people tell me that I can't do something.
I love those stories. I love them. Now, I don't know if your story that you just told us with your $118 was it, but I know life's a roller coaster of ups and downs, and we all have a most unsuccessful time in our life. Was that your time, or do you have one that was actually much worse?
Oh, I got another time. This was after the business had got started. We were about 6 people strong at that point, and I had enough money to make payroll or to pay the phone bill. And back in those days, the phone book was everything. I mean, people went to the phone book to call for service. And so I had to call the guys in. I had to call my team in, brought them all in on a Thursday evening. I said, look, guys, I got enough money to make payroll. I got enough money to pay the phone bill. It's your money. You tell me what to do with it. And they said, well, one guy said, well, can we have $25 for groceries? And I said, well, yeah, we can make it work. I just wanted you guys to know it's your money. And so we sat down as a team, as a group of 7 people. We sat down and we worked out how we could divvy up that little pocket full of money, and we got both things accomplished. Got the phone bill paid, and that was a very trying moment. I mean, because if they would have said, no, we need our money, then there would have been no more company.
That was a good leadership decision, I think. I think that was good.
Most people come to find out later, their conception of that should have been that I would have paid the phone bill and then not worried about talking to employees. But I didn't. I guess being a Christian, that didn't seem right to me. It was just my gut instinct that told me to do it that way. But and then I've been there just like your guys on the call. Back in my day, we've had to go around collecting receivables and get the money in the bank by 2:00 so we could write the checks. Because you're during the winter, it's hard in Florida to have air conditioning in the winter.
What do you feel was one of your hardest things in your business to overcome that you've since conquered?
I guess it would be shifting from knowledge is power to transmitted knowledge is now power. That happened around the 2000 mark when the internet started really to become a big part of our life. We shifted at that point. There used to be a concept of if I kept the knowledge in my head and then I only disseminated that knowledge as needed, simply because I didn't want you to take my job away, or I didn't want to lose my job to some younger person. So that was the kind of as we were traveling through life was going. And then the internet came along, and now we need to be more inclined to be able to transmit that knowledge. So with my programs and things, we're always creating a career path and teaching people coming in at an entry level how to grow through their career wherever they want to be. So it's a different way of approaching business in today's marketplace than it was in my early days.
What was your most challenging client-related situation, and how did you resolve it?
I don't know that necessarily this was a challenge, but I was called. This is the air conditioning days, and they called me out, and there was this big sign in front of the Tampa Buccaneer Stadium, and it was an electronic sign, and it wouldn't work during the summertime, and so they went. I went out there. Somebody recommended that I go out there, and so anyway, I went there and looked at it, and so I'm walking through the center of the sign, and the guy's with me, and I said, well, if you can get me 220 power to the sign, I can get this done for you for less than $3,000. And he said, can you put that in writing? And I said, sure. And I'll never forget, it was $2,847. And it was a very simple concept. It was just cut the hole in the sign, put basically a wall unit there, and then duck it through the center of the sign, drop out grills. And it was relatively easy. And I found out later that he had bids anywhere from $22,000 to $28,000 because everybody was approaching it from a much more difficult concept. But what it did for me, Antonio, was it opened the door for the Tampa Bay Bucks. It opened the door for the Cincinnati Reds, the Sports Authority, Hillsborough County. So the point that I'm trying to make here is that, when we see an opportunity, we have to really look at it. We shouldn't bypass opportunities. So this opportunity so you have to put some little thought process into it. You have to do it. And you never know. That was the linchpin that opened my company up. Next year, I was nominated for Small Businessman of the Year. The next year, I was nominated and received Outstanding Young Businessman of the Year.
What do you feel is your one biggest business triumph to date?
That's a good question. I approached when I was with Century 21. I approached my boss, the owner of the franchise, and I said, "We can develop this into where we can sell a franchise within a franchise." And he said, "I don't think that's ever been done." And I said, well, if we create the system that they can hit the ground running and they can make money and it's predictable, then we can sell it for more than what what they buy one for. And we did. We sold one for $50,000, and you can buy a brand new franchise from Century 21 at the time for $25,000. But we had a unique plan, and we were changing the real estate industry into what was called a boutique, which was waterfront properties and things like that. So what we proved that that could work. We did it. We made it happen. And then, so they put me on the road to go do another one. So the next, I did the same exact thing. I took one of the franchises that belonged to Century 21, and I sold it for $100,000. So that's 4 times what you could buy one brand new one. But the systems that I had put in place caused this lady, I told her that if she takes this, on, that and she does this for 90 days, and she takes the program, the results for the program, to her CPA, and her CPA didn't think that it was worth $100,000, then we would call off the deal. And of course, she came back with the CPA was ecstatic, and so selling a $100,000 franchise inside of a company was kind of unique, and it can be done.
Wow, that's interesting.
As long as the master franchise, the franchisee, the one who owns the franchise, he wants to expand, they'll always give him another unit or another store, and all he has to do is maintain 51% of the franchise, and then he can sell 49% of that franchise, but he can split the profits any way he wants. And that was the key that I added to the mix, was setting it up as a separate corporation, and then you can divvy up the profits any way you want, still remain in control. That's all within the legal rights of a franchise agreement.
Smart moves. I love that. What do you feel is the one biggest personal triumph to date?
Tail hooking onto the United States USS America as a civilian. That was all because of business, though. It had nothing to do, as a personal thing. But that was my biggest thing, was launching a franchise in Puerto Rico on the Navy base, down in the Navy base, Roosevelt Roads Navy base. Put a travel agency inside of a civilian travel agency on the inside of the base, and where the base could, the people could come to the location and book their domestic travel, their cruises, their leisure travel, all that. They had a central location right there in Puerto Rico to do that. And for that, we ended up doing a golf tournament, which ended up me meeting the commanding officer and so forth and so on. So again, it was like we were one of those, you probably know about these now on bases, but the idea come from MacDill. When I went out with my mom, I saw a franchise on the base. So I thought, well, that's a novel idea. So first opportunity I got, we put a franchise on the base.
Wow, that's pretty good.
You gotta, and I think you know this, Antonio, you just look for ways to do things differently. And then you've, as I've said many times, the pioneers are the ones that have the arrows in their back.
Yeah.
You probably know about these now on bases, but the idea come from MacDill. When I went out with my mom, I saw a franchise on the base. So I thought, well, that's a novel idea. So first opportunity I got, we put a franchise on the base.
Wow, that's pretty good.
You gotta, and I think you know this, Antonio, you just look for ways to do things differently. And then as I've said many times, the pioneers are the ones that have the arrows in their back.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Hang tight, successors. We'll return to our conversation with Terry Ogburn, as well as quick success after a word from our sponsors. Podcasters, want more listeners? Check out promosharecast.com and join the community today. That's promosharecast.com. Join today and get the first month free, and you'll also receive 50% off for a lifetime membership. Sign up today. promosharecast.com. Are you a tense, tired, busy person who works day in and day out, who tends to lack the proper sleep and energy? Using modular supplements, health-related articles, recipes, life hacks, and more, Bellison can help. With quality as high as Bellison, you're buying from a company that cares about the environment and only uses premium vegan supplements. That's Bellison.com. Want to learn how to cook healthy, exercise, and meditate in just 30 minutes a day? Bellison.com. Want to feel healthy, energetic, and focused like me? Bellison.com. To receive a 10% discount at checkout, visit Bellison.com with the coupon code THE4POS. Visit Bellison.com now. That's BELISAN.com. Compassion and quality without compromise. Bellison.com. And we're back with business owner and consultant Terry Ogburn. Now we get into the part of the show I like to call Quick Success, where you, Terry, can inspire the successors to enhance their lives in the areas of knowledge, health, wealth, and spirituality. Terry, what are you currently doing to enhance your knowledge?
I read every day. There isn't a day that goes by, and I recommend that every person spend at least 1 hour a day focus on their industry in all aspects. And it doesn't always have to be within their own trade. It can also be like Disney World doesn't see another theme park as their competitor. They see Nordstrom's or LL Bean as their competitor. So looking outside the box and just striving to learn and be, as I mentioned earlier, transmitted knowledge now is the way to be.
What are you currently doing to enhance your health?
Walk 5 miles a day. I've been a health nut. I'm 66 years old. Most people think that I'm somewhere in my early 50s. I like to play tennis. I like to be active. I like meditation. So all of that helps, and you got to eat healthy. I'm not by no means trying to say you have to be a vegetarian or vegan, but whatever you want to do, that's fine. But you have to eat correctly, and making sure you get a balanced diet and exercise.
What are you currently doing to enhance your wealth?
Working every year to increase my net worth. Most people lose sight of the fact in business that the goal is not how much you make, it's how much you keep. And so the idea is, like for an example, let's say you take Visa for your work or MasterCard or American Express. That charge, that 3% charge or 2% charge or whatever that charge might be, that needs to be passed on to the customer. Just like the taxes that you pay to the IRS, those monies need to be paid by your customer. Now, the idea is to keep 10% of your money after taxes. So you need to constantly be focusing on, and what I use as a pro forma, to make sure that you're staying on track for that and increasing your net worth each year, and hopefully by 10%.
What are you currently doing to enhance your spirituality?
I lost my son 2 days before his 19th birthday, which was in 2000. And ever since then, I was baptized early on in life, 15 years old. God has always been a part of my life. But once he went and you realize that your days are numbered, I then started devoting my life also to wondering why and what's about. So I enhanced my knowledge. I want to know more about why things are. I have a lot of questions. We won't get into them today, but I don't question my faith. But I want to learn and I want to know more. And that's the trail I'm on now, is to spend more time understanding all types of religion, not just ours, meaning the Christianity, but also what makes other religions the way they are.
Are there any modern technologies or apps that help you achieve success?
The thing that's been the best for me is GoToMeeting. I recommend that to anybody that is going to be doing any one-on-one consulting or coaching or anything like that. Use technology and make sure that it fits you. Don't use technology to shortcut things. That's, I guess, the biggest thing that I see a lot of companies and business owners do is they rely too much on technology. I'm not saying we're not supposed to use it. I'm just saying that don't count on it working. Be ready to do. This goes back to my days at Radio Shack. One day I was visiting a mall store, and the power went out, and nobody knew how to write up a manual ticket. They didn't even know where the manual tickets were.
Wow.
Yeah, they come. So, and this was in 97, 98. So it wasn't like this was just, like a couple of weeks ago. This was, 20 years ago. And we just rely on it too much. And then when we don't have a backup. Like the other day, I was getting on a go-to-meeting call with a client, and internet, obviously it wasn't the internet, it was something wrong with the go-to-meeting people. And we couldn't get on, it wouldn't launch. So I said, okay, I'll call you. And so the person that was the client, we'd never been on anything but a go-to-meeting. And the client I said, well, let me tell you, before I go-to-meeting, I did all my calls by phone. So, and before that, I did all my calls face-to-face, and then I realized that was costing me way too much time and trading time for money. So, so don't rely on it. Use it, but don't make it that it's going to work all the time.
What new thing, book, activity, technology, or skill are you really excited to learn and dive into?
Anything with personal development has been upon me. I walked on fire with Tony Robbins' Unleash the Power Within, and that was in 2004. And ever since then, Antonio, it changes. It really does change your life. It's real. You do take your socks and shoes off. You do walk across hot bed of coals barefooted. You do get burned. There's no denying it. There's none of it. But the thing is that you actually realize that it's the most incredible thing I've ever done, I think.
Wow. I can't believe you just told me that story, that you actually did that. That's incredible. You're the first person I've ever met that has actually done that with Tony.
Yeah, it's a wild ride, I tell you, because his event is usually 4 days long. I recommend it to anybody who gets a shot at going to one of his events. And in fact, I think he does one up in your area, St. Louis, Missouri. I think or somewhere close up in there, he does one of these events. And you actually walk, Antonio, the first night you're there. The very first night you walk.
Wow.
And the rest, and then the event goes up from there. But I mean, you do this walk at somewhere around 2:00 in the morning. And it's real. It is not, there's no fake, there's none of this. It's bare feet, hot bed of coals, and I didn't see a person there that didn't get their foot burned. At least one of their foot burned.
Yeah, Tony's incredible. I really enjoy the stuff he does. As far as helping our listeners achieve success in whatever it is they're doing, what piece of advice can you give them?
Be the first one into work, be the last one to leave, turn your car into a university, constantly and never-ending improvement. Of course, we get that from Tony. But that you have to be, 110% dedicated to whatever you're going to do, especially in this day and age, because there's somebody like me that's just going to come running right past you.
Oh, I like that. I like those words. Very good. All right, Successors, Terry has a special exclusive offer for the listeners of this show. Terry, what is that?
I would like to offer to your listeners, and even to you, Antonio, if it's possible, one coaching session with me, free. We'll discuss any problem, situation, opportunity that is available, that you're having. We'll spend a half hour together. No sales pitch. It's just strictly a half hour to help you solve a problem. You simply go to my website, terryogburn.com. There's a place for you to opt in for my newsletter. I won't put you in the newsletter column, but it will just send me an email. I will reference in the comment section that you want a half hour of my time, and I'll be glad to schedule something with you.
All right, Successors, you heard that. 30 minutes consultation with Terry. Go to terryogburn.com. Just opt into his newsletter and connect with Terry that way. Terry, how can our listeners connect with you?
WTOGBURN@AOL.com. I know it's an old one, but I've had that address since 1998. Just very simple. Just, again, WTOGBURN burn@aol.com. Reach out to me anytime. I'll be glad to help any of your listeners.
All right, Terry. I'm going to take you up on that 30-minute consultation too, by the way, just so you know.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm excited. Finally, Terry, what's your definition of success?
Good question. To me, success is different for everyone. But if I had to put around one thing, it's happiness. Just make sure that no matter what you're up to, to me, there are 6 dimensions of life: spiritual, mental, physical, financial, emotional, and social. Make sure you're happy in every part of those fundamentals.
All right, successors, I hope you've enjoyed my conversation with Terry Ogburn. Please check out more successful free content like this at the4pos.com, as well as rate, review, and don't forget to subscribe wherever you find podcasts. Thanks for listening and prepare for success. Thanks, Terry.
Thank you, Antonio.